Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Meet Me in Napa. Of course, I'm your host, Jeremy Jackson. So glad you're here to join me again. I have a very special guest here, Mona Leonardo from the Michael Leonardo Foundation. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. First, I just want to say thank you for coming and talking to me. I know you reached out to me on Instagram months back, but then we got to meet each other at a nonprofit event, and I got to put a face with the name. And what was interesting about that was when you first had reached out at the time, you know, people were sending me messages and I would send them and I would hit them back, but you just kind of get lost in the shuffle. But you were always somebody that I wanted to kind of come back to, but I was glad that I got to meet you and I met your beautiful daughter. And so you have a very interesting story here, and it's really it's empowering, and there's sadness, and there's a lot to it, which you will explain. But first, I want to start off before we get into the details, everything. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
You doing good?
Yeah. I'm doing okay.
Okay. I'm pretty sure you've done these interviews before, so I'm pretty sure it gets kind of maybe a little angst before.
Yeah, a little nervous.
Yeah,
you know, it's you never know where it's going to go. Sometimes they get emotional, sometimes not.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Mona?
Sure. So I've been a Napa resident for 25 years. We moved here as a family in 2000. And you know, I've in a little bit in the wine industry with my real job, and Mark and I, who is partners, is a co-founder of the foundation. We've raised our kids here, Michael and Julia, and so I've been a resident since 2020. I'm sorry, 2000. And before that, I grew up on the East Coast, so I came from the East Coast.
The East Coast, baby.
Yeah.
The weather's a lot better over here, huh?
Yeah, you have that humidity and then the cold winters. So yeah, that's what drew me out to California. Okay, my first visit. Yeah.
So you moved to Napa in 2000,
right?
And of course you're in wine. Like, what else is there to do?
Right.
So you have the foundation that you have is about your son.
Correct.
And so just give us a little bit about who your son is, who he was, and what led to the foundation that you have.
Right. So, you heard me mention Michael and Julia. So they were very close. There were 20 months difference in age. And Michael was, just a good kid, a good person, a good heart. He had lots of friends. He loved breakfast burritos and food. He played sports, in high school he played rugby. He went to the same school, K through 8, here in downtown Napa. Okay. Had close friendships. And then after Blue Oak School, he went on to Napa High School. Okay. He loved his AP history class. He loved AP history.
That was my favorite subject.
Yeah. He just he was always having a conversation about that. He was also a musician, and he started playing the guitar in first grade. Okay. Went to several years at Napa School of Music. He loved rap and hip hop was his favorite. He loved Mac Miller. He had, he was just a good soul. Yeah. His friends describe him as having good energy. Yeah. I just I run into some of his friends in downtown Napa when I'm out and about, and I just ran into one friend of his that said, Michael was so funny, just hearing these little things about him. He worked after high school. He worked at a Napa hotel as a bellman, and he absolutely loved it because he met so many people. Earlier we were talking about, famous people that come to Napa, and he would drive the hotel vehicle around and drive well-known people around. So he always loved that. That was really fun for him. Yeah.
That's such a good job for a young person. I remember my son was at a restaurant, and he came home the morning because he worked late. He says, Dad, Steph Curry was at the restaurant last night.
Yeah. He had some good stories.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, you've seen all these people. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was just like that. He connected with people. Mm-hmm. He liked starting conversations. You just walked into a room and you felt comfortable with him. Yeah. A little edgy too. He had an edge to him, So, we miss him so much.
He played rugby. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
not too many unedgy guys that play rugby, you know?
Yeah. So, I guess I could really talk all day about him, and he's just, we miss him really much.
So, of course, he's not here with us anymore.
Right.
And so, what was the event that led to him not being with us?
Right. So Michael passed away from fentanyl poisoning. So I'm sure many of your listeners, hopefully by now, have heard of what's going on with the fentanyl crisis. But it was a Sunday evening. He was in San Diego at college. So he and his sister moved to San Diego in the summer of 2019. They didn't live together. They lived close by. They were attending classes at Mesa Junior College, and they were both going to transfer to a UC school. So they were, living there. Michael found this great house by the beach. It was in Del Mar, right across from the beach.
I love San Diego.
Yeah. They absolutely loved it. And he had some of his friends move down. They ended up, were his roommates. He started meeting musicians and started recording and making music. He seemed like he was on a really nice path. There were a couple years in high school where it was a little, kind of not a little tough. I think kind of the teenage years,
teenage
right?
boys, yeah.
He was using marijuana. And then just kind of cleaned up, and then decided he wanted to move down to San Diego because his sister was moving down there, and his grandparents lived there. And so they grew up going back and forth to San Diego. So very familiar, and they absolutely love it. He was at the time taking classes. He had been working for a marketing company for about a month and a half, doing social media marketing as an intern. He absolutely loved it. And then one Sunday evening, he, for whatever reason, we can't ask him, but he took what he thought was a legitimate prescription pill. He asked for a Percocet. And what he got was something made with fentanyl, and he didn't know it. He ingested it. I last spoke to him that Sunday evening at 9:20 p.m. It was my birthday. And, he was in really good spirits. His roommates, were saying happy birthday, and it was a good conversation. We talked about his weekend. His dad was just there visiting, so they had a get together at his grandparents' house, and everything seemed just fine.
The day of?
The Saturday before.
The Saturday before.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then so the Sunday, the next day, so that Sunday he was working on. He had a meeting on Monday the next day, so he was working on that project for the meeting. So when I talked to him that night, he felt really confident about it. He had a 3:00 meeting on Monday, and just went to bed as a parent feeling safe, where I knew where my kids were, right? And the next morning, I remember opening my computer to start work, and I saw that Michael had rented a movie on Prime Video. And I thought, okay, another safe moment as a parent. Oh, I know he's watching a movie. You always have that in the back of your head as a parent, where you know where your child is. I was on a work call, and my daughter Julia was calling through around 10 a.m. And I thought, what's going on? And, she was frantic. And she said, something's wrong with Michael. Her roommates had called her over because he was non-responsive. And then she told me that he had... They think he died. And so it was a very, traumatic call, and, every parent's worst nightmare.
It is.
And so you have, my daughter that has the trauma, Michael's roommates that found him has the trauma. So he ingested it that Sunday night. He was watching a movie with his roommates. And, 5.5 years ago, the things we talk about now in our, when we do our outreach, we didn't know that 5.5 years ago. And so, Michael didn't know this information. His roommates didn't know about these fake pills, about naloxone, about fentanyl test strips.
Yeah.
So we weren't having these conversations.
Right.
Later found out with Michael's toxicology report, Narcan would have saved Michael's life. If he was having signs. His roommate said that, he fell asleep and he was snoring very loud, which are both signs. And unfortunately, 911 wasn't called because they weren't aware of what was going on. So
were they kind of, do you know from the time that he took it to the time that it, he passed away, was there an estimated time of how long it took?
There is a sort of a timeline from when he took it to when his roommates heard him snoring. Okay. And once that gets to that point, that's a person's lungs giving out. So it was early morning hours. So I think it was like 3 to 4 hours.
Okay.
With the amount of fentanyl Michael had in his system, it kind of matches with that. Like, Narcan would have saved him, where some other toxicology reports I've seen from other parents sharing where, the fentanyl in their system was so high that it would have been quick.
Because I was going to ask about that because, am I aware of the fentanyl issue? Yes, but I'm still like novice about the impact of it all. And I've seen videos where like people have touched it and they just like fall over. So is that like realistic, or is that more made up? Like how does that usually work with the fentanyl?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, because 2 milligrams, a very tiny amount of fentanyl powder, can take an average size adult's life. So think of a tip of a pencil or a few grains of salt. That's 2 milligrams. So that's how much can take a person's life. So just touching it or getting it on your skin, it's not going to, you're not going to be affected. Okay. Now, if you touched a bunch of powder and you put it in your mouth and you ingested it, you have to ingest it or inhale it in order for it to affect you. So it just depends on how much fentanyl or opioid someone has in their system. If it's just that minimal amount of like 2 milligrams that just puts you over enough to take your life, or it could be a much higher dose. Right. These pills, especially dealing with these fake pills that are out there, it's random. It's the way that the drug cartels are making the pills. It's just random. So you just don't know how much you're getting in each pill. So it's just going to depend on the amount that ends up in their system.
So take me back to, that day you get the phone call, you're in a meeting, you get the phone call from your daughter, and what was her name?
Julia.
Yeah. Julia calls, and what is the first thought that goes through? I can only imagine. I'm just like, I have kids, right? So I'm just like, sometimes I'm just driving in my car and I can think about something happening. So I can, so when it becomes reality, what was that experience like? How did the impact of that?
Yeah, that was, it was all a blur really right now. I was in shock. I was alone when I got the phone call. So I just screamed and I cried and I just was really in shock. Just not really you don't really process what that means. I mean, death is final, they're gone, right? And it's really hard your brain's just not reconciling it. It's not making sense. At least that was my experience. Okay. So I just remember, it's like, what do you do? I was on the phone with Julia. What do I do? And so we hung up and I just kept calling her back and then hanging up, calling back. I called Craig, my partner, and asked him to come right away, and just sat there and just in shock. Yeah. And just after I started thinking about it, it's like, what did he do? I talked to him last night. I was trying to put it all together. Like, did he have a lot of pills? Did he take them all?
Yeah. Was it like
a true overdose where he intentionally took too many? What happened? Did he drink too much? It was all these questions I had. So when it came to a point, it may have been the next day or 2 days later, I don't remember, talking to his roommates and, they were distraught. They had come home back to Napa. One of his friends came over to visit and, we talked and I said, what happened? And they were just as confused. Like, well, he took something. They knew he took something. Right. But it wasn't like a lot of pills. Right. And there weren't a lot of pills found, so it was very confusing. And, this was in San Diego. And so I was working on the phone with, the medical examiner, the coroner's office, and all of that. So basically we didn't get the toxicology report back for 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And so during that 6 weeks, it's just chaotic.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And remember, at this time we're going into COVID, because I'm sorry, this was February 24th of
Oh,
2020.
COVID happened next month.
Yes.
Yes.
And so you're hearing all these COVID. So
Also, then you were maybe thinking he died from COVID.
Well, I wasn't really sure.
Yeah.
He was complaining of a cold, and I thought, well, what's going on? And then so COVID starts up, and then mid-March, everything shut down. If you remember everything,
I remember.
like a few weeks later. And so everybody's doing that in San Diego, reacting to COVID. It's like, I need my son's toxicology report. I need to know what happened. Finally get it. The medical examiner was so compassionate and really explained to me what happened, that Michael passed away from fentanyl intoxication. And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he explained to me what was going on, that he's seeing hundreds of deaths of people with fentanyl in their system. And so when I got off the phone with him, I just started calling around San Diego. I called the investigator that, was there on the scene when Michael passed. And I have to say, was very rude, who said I was on vacation. He was on vacation, to call him back in 4 days. And just called the sheriff's office. I finally got connected with the DEA in San Diego, and they had a task force that investigated these deaths. I was just shocked. It's like, why isn't, what's going on?
Yeah,
and so they were very helpful. I overnighted Michael's phone to the DEA agent. They got it the next day. And through all this investigation, his roommates talked to them, and Michael got this fake pill from someone on the social media platform Snapchat. Snapchat's the worst. It tracks predators, drug dealers, because of its disappearing messages, its map finder,
right. Yeah,
and now algorithms like push drug menus to young kids. I mean, 90% of age 13 to 24-year-olds use Snapchat. So it's the one platform where they, they're responsible for a lot of youth deaths where drug dealers are selling these fake pills.
Wow.
They claim they're making, safety measures, but it's still happening. There's still deaths happening through their platform. The DEA agent, they had the profile of this person that Michael bought from, and it was, someone Michael's age, this low-level dealer selling these fake pills. He claimed he had no idea what was in them.
Did your son know this guy?
He didn't know him.
Like,
he just found it was on Snapchat. He found him on Snapchat. I don't know if, he typed it in or if the algorithms found him. I don't know that detail, but Michael was able to find this on Snapchat.
Okay.
And so the DEA agent, they were able to track down this guy. And a month later, they did surveillance. A month later, they arrested him.
Okay.
And because he was a low-level dealer, they only gave him a year sentence, but he only served 3 months because it was COVID, and they didn't, and they were not doing that. So that's how that part worked.
That's hurtful.
Yeah. So, so we started hearing of other young people dying in 2020, especially here in California. There were a lot of young people that had passed, and because it was COVID, through social media and Facebook, started connecting with these parents and started hearing their stories. And same exact story. My child got a fake pill on Snapchat. They ingested it. I mean, one child was 14. Another was the same age as Michael. He was in his dorm room. But you hear these stories over and over. It's the same thing. And so connecting with these parents, we realized that a lot of this information wasn't being talked about to young people, and they needed to be warned about what was going on. So we talked about it and wanted to start something in Michael's name. So we started the foundation, but we really couldn't get out and speak until after COVID. So that was like, early 2022.
Yeah.
And that's when we started talking to schools in the county, talking to community leaders, our DA, our sheriff, public health officer, board of supervisors, so that they all knew what was going on. And
were they very receptive to?
Yeah, at first it was in 2021, early 22. It was people were hearing about it, but not really sure. Our DA was very. She knew what was going on, and so she's been very supportive, and she's tough on that. So so now we all sort of work together and get the word out and talk about it.
So, I mean, of course, an event like that, it just shifts the whole trajectory of your life.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, right? And so now you have this newfound purpose, and that has been born through tragedy. What is that like wrestling? Because oftentimes I would assume that, whether it be a loss of a child or any type of tragic loss, you have time to go through it, heal, and maybe there's moments you might not think about it. But now you have this foundation that's ever present, a part of your life. So there's not a day or probably a moment when you're not dealing with, this situation with your loss of your son. And so how has that affected, I'm pretty sure with the sister, I mean, I watched your video and I think it said something in there that people always talk about the parents, but they never talk about the siblings. That she lost a brother, she lost a best friend,
right.
And so there's just so much healing that has to take place. I mean, so you started this foundation to help others, but where did you find healing and peace in this process?
Right, that's a great question. I know everyone has their own journey, and but for me, it was really important to be Michael's voice and to work in Michael's spirit. So he really liked conversation. And I just know in my heart that if he knew what was going on, he would be talking about it. And so that's what motivates me to talk about it, because I know he would. And, I do talk to him. And, I always wonder sometimes if he would approve or not approve. So I really always try to keep that in mind. But that that's really where that comes from for me. Sometimes it is tough every day. I do have to give myself a break. I'll say, okay, a couple days I have to step back because I have to be, fresh and want to be able to do it. I just can't run myself down.
Yeah.
Right. So I do that for myself. I'm very aware of that. But for me, this is part of my healing process, is talking to people, especially doing community events. I love being out talking one-on-one with people. And I know Michael loved doing that too. So that's what helps me in my healing. I actually say healing, but I don't think I don't think any of us, Mark or Julia, will ever heal. But it keeps me connected to Michael.
Yeah.
I really am connected to him in spirit. We were very close. And I just feel like that keeps me connected to him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So you brought some things here today to talk about, and if you want to maybe grab them and show them, or
sure.
I can. Yeah. I'm gonna move this down here.
I wanted to talk about many of people.
You can set it up here on the table.
Have probably heard of Narcan. So Narcan is a brand. The drug name is naloxone. That's the active ingredient in this drug. It's a life-saving drug that reverses an opioid poisoning, whether that opioid is fentanyl, heroin, or another prescribed pill opioid. So it only works on an opioid. And basically, it's a nasal spray. It's very easy to use. So here's the box. It comes in a 2-pack of these 2 little doses. Again, Narcan's the brand name. There are other brand names as well. It's just this little spray. So if you've ever used a nasal spray, like a cold medication, anything like that, it works like that. So basically, it's this little spray, and you take it First, you need to know the signs. In a lot of our presentations we give to, say, students, I'll ask, how many of you have heard of Narcan? They raise their hand. And then I say, most of the time, people that pass away from fentanyl poisoning are unaware they ingested it. And so I'll ask, would you know what to do and the signs to look for? Nobody raises their hand. So it's really important to know the signs to look for if someone is, have been poisoned by fentanyl. So some of the signs are if they are not responding, if they are snoring very loudly, if their breathing is very shallow. Pinpoint pupils. You want to lift their eyelid and check their pupil. If it's pinpoint, that's a sign they have opioids in their system. Blue lips and nails. Any of these signs, you want to call 911 right away. Let the dispatcher know that you have someone that's not responding, and that if you have it, you have Narcan, you're going to administer it. You can put the phone on a speaker. And so you're going to lay the person on their back, tilt their head back, and then insert this in one of their nostrils and push this pink plunger very hard. Don't try to test it because there's only one dose, and it'll spray. You wait 2 to 3 minutes, and if the person does not respond, you go into the second nostril with the second dose. Okay. And hopefully by that time they will respond or they will, come to. And by that time you have, hopefully help is on the way because you called 911, and you always want to stay with the person until help arrives. Just because you're going to have the, first responders there and they're going to know what to do. So it's a very important thing to have. Everyone should have it.
I'm going to get some. I didn't even have it. So yeah.
Absolutely. Because you might not, it could be somebody that just comes over to your house. Maybe they ingested something and they didn't know it had fentanyl in it. You just don't know. Parents should have this. I mean, so many stories of parents who, their child went to bed that night, and then after the fact, they saw they were texting. They got this fake pill. They took it to go to, they thought they were, help them sleep. And then they were found unresponsive the next morning. So it's really important to know the signs. I was actually just talking to someone last night at an event, and she was telling me her little brother somehow got fentanyl, and he was with a group of friends, and he kind of, fell forward. And his friends thought he was joking, and they're sitting around, and then it escalated, and they realized something was really wrong, and they called 911. And they were the first responders were able to revive him. So, things like that, it's just so important to know because, drug traffickers are putting fentanyl in everything because it's extremely cheap. They get it from their supplier very, very cheap. So 90% of fentanyl ingredients come from labs in China. And then drug traffickers take it and they mix, for the fake pills, they mix it with a pill binder. And they press these fake pills that look very similar to a real prescription pill that a doctor would give you. So they're the same shape, color, have the same markings. So a lot of, young people are familiar with prescription pills, whether they've been prescribed to them before, whether they've seen their parents, take some of them. We do show a photo during our presentations that the DEA has taken of real versus fake pills right next to each other, and you can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
So, that's what's happening. Most of these young people that are passing from the fake pills. But there are reports of cocaine and heroin and meth having fentanyl in it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of, I've heard, especially in the homeless community, I hear a lot of, deaths happen that way. So it's just a sad thing. So what has been the most positive thing that has come out of all of this that has happened to you over these last few years? What's been on the upside for you?
Yeah. I think, someone recently asked me, how do you know you're making an impact? Which I thought, well, this is a really awful thing to talk about. I hope, it's a sad thing. And hoping Michael's story and all the other families that are talking about their family stories are making an impact. But for me, it's, things like after a school presentation, these students that come up to me and say, thank you so much for sharing Michael's story. I didn't know any of that. Or when we're out in the community, I'll have someone come up and say, hey, I've seen your foundation name and things you're doing. Thank you so much for doing that and, educating us and things like that. So I think for me, it's that. It's just, getting that feedback, whether it's an email from someone or, someone coming up to me after or a presentation, things like that. That is really kind of.
And so and your daughter, she helps you run the foundation?
Yeah, she pretty much helps with our music event.
Okay.
She's a musician as well. She's a vocalist.
Okay.
And so once a year we have an event called our Music and Awareness event, where it's a 3-hour event where we bring in musicians, sort of kind of lighten the topic a little bit, get everybody there. And then we have speakers that talk about the topic and ways to stay safe. And we have our information booth there so that people can take, Narcan with them, fentanyl test strips as well. Fentanyl test strips are really important to test your substance before, so you can see if there's fentanyl in it.
These test strips here?
Yeah, okay. So that's a test strip. That's one brand. There are many brands, but this is one brand that they're paper strips.
Okay.
And so basically you take your substance, whether it's a powder or a pill, you have to crush the pill. You dissolve it in water. And you take the paper strips, put it in there, and after a couple minutes, it gives you a reading. So 2 red lines will show that it's negative for fentanyl analogs. 1 red line shows it's positive for fentanyl. And so these are really important to keep people safe. It doesn't make people use more.
Yeah.
It actually keeps you safe. And my daughter has a real story. When she was at school at UCSB, there were some friends of friends that were going to take Molly. And the friend told them to test with fentanyl test strips, and it came up positive for fentanyl.
Wow.
And so it really scared them.
Wow.
So it's a deterrent as well,
Yeah.
So really important to keep people safe.
Yeah. I mean, it as you're talking about it, what's interesting to me is like, I grew up in the era of like DARE, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know if they educate kids about drugs anymore in schools. I don't know. I don't hear about it, but so thank you for your work that you're doing. Have you done, I was thinking about as you were talking, have you done any work outside of Napa? Like, do you travel around the Bay Area, or do you strictly like in the local Napa area?
Yeah, we have. So we have traveled outside of Napa. In May, we did a few presentations in Vallejo, a school there. And we've gone 3 high schools in San Francisco, Sonoma State, and we've been to Denver, Colorado in this February, going back to Boulder, Colorado. Okay. So we do travel around quite a bit. We focus on Napa County because we do have a grant through Napa County that we've been part of for the last year, and that's through opioid settlement funds. And we have that for the next 2 years. Okay. Yeah, and so we're very grateful for that. So that allows us to do a lot of the work that we're doing. So Napa County and Napa County Health and Human Services Agency.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're very supportive of that.
They are very supportive. Yeah. And
you need your county and politics to care about.
Absolutely.
You gotta. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think because we are such a small county as well, everybody sort of knows who everybody is, and I think that's really important because that creates a close community. Yeah. So yes, they've been very supportive.
Yeah. I always tell people all the time, for me, the best thing I like about here is just community driven. Yeah. You can't just come and just try to pillage from, you got to you got to know people, and, it's just, and people accept you into their, their tribes and community and stuff like that. So is there anything that you would like to leave the people who are watching, any information, or just anything that you just want to leave before we go?
Yeah, I just want to say that this is a situation with the fentanyl crisis. It is very serious. Some people don't realize how serious it is. Maybe they haven't been affected by it, or they don't know anybody. But since 2018, there's been 400,000 deaths in the United States through 2024 from people dying from fentanyl poisoning. And that's just because fentanyl is in the drug supply. If it wasn't in the drug supply, those people would still be alive. And so it's very serious. And I think it's really important because this is like different prongs to this crisis, right? So we have the supplier, we have the drug cartels, we have social media, where the drug dealers can go and sell it. We also have, illegal guns. 75% of, the purchases that the drug cartels get from their guns are from the United States. So you have all these things kind of playing in it. So it's a big, complex thing, but we need to educate and get to our community and let them know what's going on, because that's the way. I mean, there's just a big difference between not knowing it and knowing it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where we focus on that. So, we always tell young people and the community, with these fake pills, you only want to get prescription medication from a licensed doctor or legitimate pharmacy. You don't want to get anything on social media. You don't want to get it from a friend, because you don't know where that friend comes from. You don't want to trust anybody on social media that is saying they've tested their drugs and it's safe. A lot of drug dealers like to do that because they're out there to sell.
Yeah, everybody's going to say
Yeah. So it's just, it's really important not to just think this is going to happen to somebody that uses drugs on a regular basis or someone that has substance use disorder. It can happen to anyone. It can happen to, someone that is, these kids, maybe they're having a hard time sleeping and a friend might give them something and it's a fake pill.
Yeah.
So, our kids experiment. That's what they do, right? And so they're going to. And some are more risk takers than others. And even if they hear about this, they might go, "Oh, it's not going to happen to me." It's just really making this part of the conversation and really, keep talking about it. Oh, you know what? I heard this in the news. Did you hear that? Or, unfortunately, we had a tragedy over in Santa Rosa back in February. We had 3 high schoolers pass away from fentanyl poisoning.
I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was apparently cocaine that they purchased. And the drug dealer told them it was safe. And, so this age is very trusting too. So we just need to really talk to our kids about that and let them know about the Good Samaritan law. This is a law that protects you if you're in a situation where there are drugs and someone is in trouble and needs help. You call 911. You're not going to get in trouble, even if you're underage, So we talk about that in our presentations to students. And so, just all of this information as well is on our website. Sometimes when I'm talking, I might forget information, but you can visit our website as well at michaelleonardofoundation.org. We also have an Instagram page, so we post every week there that we always have up-to-date information. Yeah.
And that's under the same name, Michael Leonardo.
At Michael Leonardo Foundation, correct. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for your powerful story. There's nothing stronger than a mom with a mission. Mothers with mission get stuff done. And my deepest condolences that, it was birthed out of this tragedy. But thank you for just not going away in the sunset and just grieving. You're taking your passion and your pain and you're helping others, and it means a lot. And I'm glad that you came here to tell your story. I really am. So thank you for coming here, and we'll have the foundation at the bottom of the screen so people can see where to find you, where if you could donate, and just help her to get the message out to the kids all over the Bay Area and hopefully the world.
Yeah. So. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me and raising awareness and getting the word out there. So thank you. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next episode.